Hello capoeiristas. Today we're going to talk about a special move that is being used in fitness quite a bit. Very complex, but so rich and so helpful for our capoeira game. I'm talking about the Turkish get-up. Now, the Turkish get-up is a movement that was being used by a lot of the military in Russia a long time ago. They had a kettlebell as one of their implements of work and fitness tools, and this kettlebell was just easy to transport. And they, through time, were able to create different assessments, different ways of using the kettlebell, such as swinging it and lifting it, and they were able to identify certain faults. They actually used the Turkish get-up as a fitness screen. If you weren't able to do the get-up with a certain amount of weight, then you weren't fit to be able to do your duties. So I like to use the Turkish get-up as a screen, but also some kind of a fitness exercise to help me progress. It's great because it will be targeting the stability of our shoulder through the different ranges that we're going to put it through with that heavy kettlebell, and it's all about the core. You'll notice through the movements, through the transitions, that the spine will move minimally, almost never. So the whole goal is to move from a bottom position lying on our backs, standing and then back down without motion in our spine. Let's look at the movement. The first phase here, we're going to be on the ground. Place yourself in a little fetal position where you can turn and grab the kettlebell. Hold it close to your body. The idea here is that the kettlebell will be heavy. Of course, start with something light at first, but then you need to challenge yourself with something heavy, or else the results will just not happen. We're not going to induce any stability or any reasons to gain more strength. Once we got the kettlebell close to our center of gravity, we simply roll. When we roll, we lie on our backs. Here we're going to stretch out one leg and one arm at about 45 degrees on one side. The side where we're holding the kettlebell, our elbow is extended. Now this is important because if we are to bend it, it could be a fault where the bell will fall. Now that's how heavy the weight can potentially be. So we need the bony structures to be on top of one another. The other leg is simply bent and ready for pushing off. Now, this is very important. This is not a crunch. We're not lifting ourselves up. We're actually rolling to the side. Hence the 45 degree in our leg and arm. The opposite leg that's bent at 90 degrees is actually pushing against the ground to roll to the side. This is a common mistake. Make sure that you're rolling and not lifting or curving yourself up. Afterwards, just push against your hand. At any point in time during the transition, you can adjust your legs and your hands so that your center of gravity is nice and stable, right? At all times, you want to look at the bell. This is where it gets a little bit complicated, but also where it pays a lot. We are going to post on that foot that was at a 90 degree bent. We're going to push hard on that single leg, going into a bridge, holding that with the opposite hand pushing down on the ground. We don't want to stay there very long, but during that time we want to swoop the leg that was nice and straight under into some kind of a lunge. As close as we can get that knee to the hand on the ground, the better. This is where we can cheat a little bit, and depending on where you bring your leg due to flexibility or mobility, you can always weasel or squeeze your leg a little bit closer. Make sure that the knee is under your hip, close to your hand, because that's where your center of gravity is. If it's off, it's going to be difficult to build that house on some very poor structures. Here, easy transition. We take the hand off from the ground and we simply pose into a half kneeling position. From the half kneeling position, we take a big step in front into standing with the bell above us. So now that we're up, we got to do the same thing going back down. Trust that you can bring your leg far enough behind you so that your knee is at 90 degrees under you. This is where I suggest slide your hand on your thigh until you make contact with the ground. That way your arm or hand is going to be close to the thigh, close to your center of gravity. That's exactly where you want it to be. If it's off too much in front or in back, it will throw you off completely for your bridge. So make sure to take your time to get into this tough position. Once we're here, bridge. Now, you don't need to bridge too much. Some people could do the movement without the bridge here, but for the purpose of the exercise, it's not a bad habit to do. And simply bring yourself down. Here, the bell is going to get heavier because of the time you're with it training. So be patient. Don't flop yourself on the ground. Your spine is going to absorb everything. So make sure that your shoulders are packed throughout the motion. Take time to be on your hand. And then transverse to your elbow. Again, double check the packing of the shoulder. Back down slowly onto your back. And here we could bring the bell close to us and simply roll to the side. The Turkish get-up is a wonderful exercise. Don't get me wrong, it's not an easy one. I suggest you start nice and easy with just putting something light on your fist. Probably not a cell phone because you could lose it, but I would suggest a shoe, and you go into the transitions with your shoe or a little box. And if the object falls, it's simply because you lack the stability, you lack the control through the transition. So it's a good challenge without any weight. Progress slowly with a little bit of weight, but ultimately don't shy. Once your technique is good, this is where you want to bring the weight up. The more weight that you have, the more that you'll challenge your stability of your shoulders, of your hip, and your core. And this is going to be such a payoff for you through all of the movements. Imagine all of the movements on the ground, putting your hand, changing into rollé, doing acrobatic movements, twisting on your hands. That's all core control. That's all shoulder stability. That's all what the Turkish get-up is about. I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope that you guys put yourselves to a challenge. If you have any questions, comments, or anything that you want me to extrapolate on, please let me know. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next show.